It's only 77.
Good evening, everybody. I'd ask everybody to please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome, everybody. I see Pat just walked in. Come on right up, Pat. I know you have another meeting to go to, so let's get right into it.
This is right here?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Right up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Pat's our OPM for the school project, Pembroke School project. And I guess there's some documents we need to approve and sign tonight in accordance with our agreement that was, the proposed agreement that was voted on by the MSBA Board of Directors. All right, you want to give us a little color on?
There were a number of documents that were sent through to the superintendent's office, which are pretty much, I'm assuming we're talking about the Pembroke, because there's a Pembroke series of documents, and then there's the middle high school initial compliance certificate.
Project and scope budget agreement.
Right. And that basically is simply reiterating the MSBA requirements that you'll carry through, and you understand the arrangement, and they're very particular to make sure that all segments of the community understand the requirements. They're pretty well spelled out. There's nothing to amend. There's nothing you can change. It is pretty much the standard form saying, we will accept your $20 million, and we will live up to the obligations contained herein. It's pretty cut and dry.
Right. I know that this is an unusual case where they put the approval of the Pembroke School on a contingency that we fund, at least to fund the feasibility study at the high school.
Correct.
Any particular crazy language in that contract due to that, or?
No, not really. They actually have, there's a separate form for the middle high school. It's indicated as an initial compliance certificate. Generally speaking, what MSBA's process involves is communities will submit a notice of interest, and then out of those hundreds that will come in on a monthly basis, there are times when it exceeds 100 coming in to MSBA. They have to sift through them and obviously make their decision as to who they're going to invite into the program. The first thing they do is they invite you into an eligibility phase. That eligibility phase, and there is a form that's going to be signed by mid-November after the election and so forth, and it basically talks about, again, streamlines the voluminous documents into 4 or 5 pages, of which there are, I think, 20 or 30 different arrangements, and most of it has to do with understanding how MSBA is going to work, how they're going to reimburse you, et cetera. Once you do that, you sign that, then you're invited in during that eligibility, and they give you 90 days to pull together the dollars for the eligibility study. In this particular case, the unusual thing is MSBA invited you in without a notice of interest because they saw that as such a critical component of the Pembroke, because you're moving a class over to Pembroke. And they're always very interested in making sure that that space is going to be appropriate for what you're going to be doing later on. As a matter of fact, you can recall that they thought you needed a bigger project, which would have added another $5 million to the scope. So they've invited you in, and what this particular document for the Pembroke says is that we understand these 25 items that are standard arrangement for MSBA, and we are moving forward with the funding of the Pembroke, and we're moving forward with the study money for the high school, middle school.
All right. It is unusual, as you say, to invite us right in, as we actually moved in front of some other communities that were probably applying for that feasibility study money.
There's no question that you did. This is the first time I'm aware of it happening. I'm not sure it's ever happened before, where they've come in and said, we'd like to give the community money without you asking for it.
Right. Yeah. Because it took us almost 3 years just to complete to get in line to be approved for the feasibility study for Pembroke, right? 2.5 years or so?
I wasn't involved, again, when you
Right.
submitted for the Pembroke, but it normally takes a period of time, because, again, there are communities now that have been trying to get on the eligibility train for 2 or 3 sessions, and they simply take somebody else, and then they try again, and they hope they get on for the next time. So, again, we know of a couple of communities where we've worked in the past where they're waiting to get on, and they haven't been selected in the last 2 sessions. Because the program is relatively generous,
Okay. All right, Mike, do we have to just take a vote to authorize me to sign it, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
You need a motion to authorize David to sign the project scope and budget agreement for the Pembroke Elementary School.
Okay. So I would entertain that motion.
So moved. I think one of us actually have to.
Yeah, somebody has to make that motion, so go ahead.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the chair to sign the project scope and budget agreement for Pembroke Elementary School.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Fowler?
Just note that this looks a little deeper than what we just were told, because what it states in here in section, the end of section 4, is that the district agrees, if we fail to demonstrate a good faith effort and a continued commitment to resolving the deficiencies at the Georgetown Middle High School, the district agrees that the MSBA, in its sole discretion, shall terminate this agreement.
Mhm.
So if we don't get the funding that we're gonna need, we may get the 80,000 that we're asking for, 85, but if the town then does not fund that,
That's
from what it
correct.
states, that
That's
this,
correct.
just.
Right, it's the 85, but it's not what
I
comes out
just
of that
want to make sure that
feasibility
we all understand that that's where it goes. That
So it's
this is-
just for the
this-
feasibility.
This
Right.
doesn't just hinge on the feasibility study. This hinges on a commitment to fix the middle high school.
That's not what we were told.
Yeah, which, I just want to be clear. What's a little confusing, I was called to come down and try and address the
Right.
forms, not even being aware which forms we were talking about. There were two sets of forms that are going to be in front of you. The first one is for the Pembroke, which is the scope and budget agreement. That is for the major project. There's no question, it's been clear all the way through, that the Pembroke project and the middle high school project, as far as MSBA is concerned, they're one. They consider these to be one project. You have, the funding for both those projects needs to go through for them to obviously move the process forward. There's a difference. Pembroke School has already gone through the scope and budget agreement. They've already fixed the dollars, we fixed the estimates, you know exactly what MSBA is gonna be giving you. That's the scope and budget agreement. The other agreement for the middle high school, you're just entering the feasibility, the eligibility period, where this money is gonna be used to move the high school, middle school to the same level of completion as the Pembroke School, which again, like I said, will be working during the course of the winter while you're designing the Pembroke, and then that would be brought to the town. I mean, both of these projects work hand in hand. MSBA has been pretty clear on that because of the impact to the middle high school.
Right, but they won't stop the Pembroke money if we come out of the feasibility study at the high school.
Right.
And for some reason, that's an ungodly number, and we decide not to do it. They're not gonna stop the money for the Pembroke School.
Now, once you get you vote the dollars in November for both projects, the design will continue, the design for the Pembroke School will move forward.
Right.
Moving it toward, obviously, completion of the documents to be bid. The design of the middle high school will continue to fix the cost for next April or whenever you need it for your town meeting. And then the hard dollars can go to town meeting in the spring to obviously get the vote to move the middle high school. Now, in the eventuality that something happens and they don't go forward, they'll still reimburse you for the Pembroke. But again, they
Right.
would obviously want to sit
That's-
down and have a hard talk about what are we going to do with the middle high school.
Right.
They may allow you to take another bite at the apple, because remember, the middle high school work does not have to be done until you vacate. It can't be done until you vacate
Right.
the school. So again, like I said, we don't know what's gonna happen with it.
Right.
The language is they have to move together. If they don't move together, you may not be able to go to bid with it, but on the same token, they may allow you, because of the schedule, to move to the next opportunity to get the dollars for the project. But just to be clear, there's no ambiguity. They're gonna work together. They see these projects being critical that they move together.
So I just want to sum what I just heard, just to make sure I'm clear, and the public's clear on this. We, the Pembroke project for that school, the replacement that's on the table, the proposition, is contingent upon a successful vote also, in addition to that vote, but the $85,000 feasibility study.
Correct.
If, for some reason, we come out of that feasibility study and it's presented to the town to vote on, whatever that cost is to replace that, or to renovate that, it's too high, the town doesn't want to absorb it, it will not slow down the Pembroke School replacement.
Well, again, like I said, if it fails in the spring and we're finishing up the documents for the Pembroke,
Yes.
and it fails, MSBA is going to want to sit down and say, okay, well, what are we going to do about the renovations for the high school, middle high school? We'd have to sit down with them and obviously talk about what the plan of attack is to obviously move that middle high school forward.
I didn't, from reading this contract, I didn't read it that the non-performance of a successful middle high school vote would stop the performance of the Pembroke School replacement. Am
Well,
I wrong?
Basically, they haven't said they're going to, what they've said right along, they've talked about it in the affirmative.
Right.
They've said these projects have to go together. These projects have to move together. Now, they haven't talked about, because there are a whole myriad of things, consequences that can happen from there. I see it as, if it did fail, then you could petition them to move forward with the Pembroke on the basis that another attempt to get the funding for the middle high school will happen. They may acquiesce, but we haven't got that far into the process yet. Right now, the idea is it'd be beneficial to get both of these votes approved at this point.
But again, going back to what I heard at that meeting, was as long as we appropriated $85,000 for the feasibility study for the high school,
Right.
that would be enough to get the funding and move the Pembroke project forward.
Right. And it will.
All right, well, that's the point.
Once you get those approved, the Pembroke project is going to move forward, because we still have to go into design and finish the entire design. So it will continue to move the project forward.
Right.
We will move the project forward, and this job, the Pembroke job will not be ready. The documents won't be ready to bid the job until this coming, I'm going to guess somewhere around August or September next year, which is why it'll be ready in September of 15. What happens if it fails next April? We haven't sat down with them and talked about what's going to happen. What we've basically said is, what they've said clearly is, these projects have to go together. By approving both of these now, the Pembroke project now design can continue all the way through. If both of them fail, you can't move the Pembroke forward.
Yeah, but I want to stick on the question. And the
Yeah.
question was, if we have approval for the Pembroke money, the 20 million,
Yeah.
as long as we put $85,000 up for the feasibility study. I was not under the impression that if we didn't go forward with the results of that feasibility study for the high school, that would stop the Pembroke project funding.
Well, we won't know until that happens. We haven't gone to them and asked them that specific question. What they have said, again, going back to what they've said basically is, these projects, are contingent on each other. So one would assume that obviously something has to happen someplace along the line to get the middle high school prepared for, obviously, the move out of the sixth grade, moving out of there to make those other areas appropriate.
So we'll get a feasibility study that will come up with a potential scope and budget of what has to happen.
Right.
We won't need to vote on that for a few years, though.
Well, again, like I said, that has to, as a matter of fact, you probably wouldn't want to bid it right away, because, again, like I said, you can't start that work until you're down the road. But they probably want to see the dollars, they'd want to see the commitment. What they're looking at is, what they've said over and over again, they just want to make sure that there's a commitment to follow through with both these projects.
But again, when they said both projects, they said I was under the impression it was just the feasibility study for the high school, because as the way we have the Pembroke new school designed, we can pull the sixth grade out without having to do anything to the high school.
MSBA would prefer that the work be done.
Right,
That's
right,
and they
but-
haven't said exactly what's going to happen if that vote fails in the spring.
Right. I think the language that Gary's referring to is, if we do the feasibility study and we just, for the high school only,
Yeah.
middle high school, and the town decides not to fund that project.
Right.
That's where they're saying there's no guarantee of funding. They're not saying there's no guaranteed funding for Pembroke School. That's the way I read that, Gary. If you read that, they're talking about the feasibility study money, the $85,000 that they're giving us. Whatever comes for the result of that, if we don't fund that, then they're not obligated. Obviously, if we don't approve it, they're not obligated to fund it.
It's the last section.
I read that through, and I
Section
didn't-
5, it's 5, some,
Page 10,
5, 2E, and it ends by saying that The district agrees that MSBA, within its sole discretion, shall terminate this agreement upon written notice, therefore, to the district, and the parties will no longer be legally bound to any term and/or condition herein.
Right, but which piece of the is it a separate agreement?
Before that, it says that,
Where are you, Gary? Because I want to look at it.
it's
Page 10.
page 10.
I.
Yeah, just
I'm
this
not
is-
saying, you know, it's in there, it's their language. I just wanted to be known that that is what it, I believe it is what it is. It's contingent on making sure that the town also does stuff middle high school.
The way I'm reading this is, it looks like it's specific to feasibility
But
study.
that's what I'm saying.
That's how I'm reading it.
Right, me too. And that's what we were told,
It's,
basically.
okay, section
And then it-
2,
and then it says
demonstrating, let me,
good
demonstrating a good faith
Let me
effort
finish.
in its continued commitment to resolving the deficiencies
Right.
at the middle high school.
Correct.
It states it several times, good faith.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it does, I think it goes back to what Pat is saying. You know, they're giving us a little room, but they are looking for a definite good faith.
One of the
Commitment.
excerpts, one of the excerpts out of the middle high school, and again, trying to allow you some flexibility, is they go back and say, if the district fails to secure local authorization and funding to conduct a feasibility study at the Georgetown Middle High School by January 2nd, so they're giving you that 90 days, okay? We know that it's gonna happen a lot quicker than that. Or fails to demonstrate a good faith effort in its continued commitment to resolve the deficiencies of the Georgetown Middle High School, the district agrees that MSBA, within its sole discretion, shall terminate the agreement, et cetera, et cetera. So what they're saying here is they're allowing you, I mean, they're saying, we want you to take care of the issues at the middle high school as you move that sixth grade out. We want you to give us a good faith effort. Now, the good faith effort might be you move the vote till the fall instead of the spring. I mean, they're
Wait a
allowing
minute,
you.
what vote, Pat? See, this is where I'm having a little trouble, because again, I was at that meeting too, and from what I understood was, as long as we appropriate $85,000 the same night we, pass at town meeting, the funding for, to partner up with them, that we were all set, and the project would move forward.
I think if you look at the project funding agreement and then you compare it to the other one, I think you're gonna find comparable language in each one of the areas. Again, because they're trying to tie both of these together. What they're saying is, we don't want you to get the $85,000 and then think you never have to do something to the middle
I
high school.
understand that, right, I understand that. But
And that's
that's
what they're
why.
trying to do.
Why would we do that anyway?
Exactly.
I mean, that would
It
be
makes all the
just
sense in the
bad
world, because you
business.
got issues that you have to take care of.
Right.
And in this particular case, bear in mind, if you don't take MSBA's money to do the work, you're gonna be doing it 100 cents on a dollar. What they're saying here is, we're inviting you in without asking.
Right.
And we're gonna be providing approximately 50% of the money you need. So, I mean, they're being about as generous as they can be,
Go
you
on.
know, so.
If we,
So continue, and then we'll go to Steve.
the one piece we're missing in just this conversation is the town's eagerness to absorb another vote of whatever millions of dollars next year if it's successful this year. And what I guess I'm suggesting is, while this says that we've got to get the feasibility done, which shows the good faith by January 2nd, 2013, it does not state anywhere in here any time frame for us to approve the actual funding for the high school, for the middle high school effort. That's how I read it. Now, the other thing is it's going to be years, and it's probably 4 years, 3 or 4 years before we even need to ask the town for the funding. Is the expectation from the MSBA that we go in the spring to ask for an additional X amount of millions of dollars on top of this school? Or is the expectation that we have the ability to wait before the actually money is needed? Now, we can certainly get a bond that we don't have to start paying for years. I certainly get that. But there's just a perception here that we're going to ask for 20 million this year, and we're going to ask for $1 million, 2 million next year. I just want to make sure the town is clear on what we're asking.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, we asked them a whole series of questions about what happens if and so forth, and it got to the point where they just said, well, we'll have to take that under advisement, because there is no manual for what we're doing here. There isn't any manual where you go to the MSBA documents and find out what happens. What they're saying here is we're making a lot of concessions because we want to see that happen. From a practical standpoint, you make all the sense in the world, that again, you can't do any of that work until the new Pembroke is complete. They've given flexibility as to when you're going to be looking for those dollars. Again, they talk about a good faith effort. So if you make a good case and you go to them and say, look, we can't do this work until the spring of 2016, we certainly don't want to bid this job way in advance, so we're going to be proceeding, we're going to get that design done, but we're not going to go out and bid the thing out until we get to this particular, until we get to the fall of 15, because it'd be crazy to ask people to submit a proposal, 2 years in advance of starting the work. But they haven't come back to us and said, this is the schedule we want you to be on. They've simply said, again, they go back to that, they understand the situation, and what they're saying is, we want you to continue to make a good faith attempt at getting the middle high school done.
How can we get clarity on this?
Well, we can ask again, but I don't think we're gonna get any answers. I think they're gonna go back to the good faith effort to get this thing done. We can certainly pose that question again.
Besides
As to
the
what their timing would be.
$85,000, which is showing tremendous good faith for the feasibility study, what is reasonable in good faith in their eyes? And in your experience, this is new and outside the box, we just don't want surprises.
Sure.
And this is well, I read it and understand that there's a lot of ambiguity in this contract, in this particular topic that we're on, and I do have a concern with that. It's a boilerplate contract, it's gone through legal, I'm sure, and stuff, I think that's all fine, but the business aspect of this, that piece right there is a very, it's not clear for a project the size and scope of this, and it's dangerous in our eyes for the town. We've got to make sure that we're tight on this.
Sure.
Phil, it has not gone through
It will go through.
our
I'm not-
legal.
I'm not worried about the legal aspect of it. I'm sure it will go through our legal, and it's a boilerplate anyhow, so.
You can't make changes to it.
No, it won't go through our legal because they don't allow any
They don't allow-
changes.
No
It
change.
validates the contract.
Yeah, that's one thing you can't do. You can't change, if they've got a misspelling in there, I would suggest you don't even try and change the misspelling. I guess one question we could ask them, and that would be the main question, I'm not sure we'll get an answer, is that if you get the project done and ready for bid, and you bid the Pembroke project, and it goes out to bid, and you're ready to make an award, can we award this job without having the final dollar construction commitment in place?
That's precisely what we're looking for.
And I thought that was already resolved, to be honest with you.
No, they've never been that specific, because they keep going back to that good faith attempt and understanding that there may be some.
Yeah, the good faith is we're gonna put a feasibility study, we're gonna get a design back, we're gonna get a project scope and a budget, and our expectation is that we're going to address these concerns in the future years when the Pembroke School is done, and we can actually move the
Do the work
classes out.
that's
I
right.
understand.
It doesn't get any better faith than that, that's what we
Yeah.
wanna do.
Yeah.
Well, Steve had a question, so.
Well, just the key on this too is that we've got to remember the middle high school is a different type of project. You can't build 10% of a school when you're building a new construction, where this could easily be a phased approach. I mean, there's a potential roof issue, there's the flooding issue, which we're looking for FEMA. So this is good faith. In this case, could very well be very ongoing, because it's not, if you're gonna build a new school, you gotta, it's all or nothing, because you can't afford to build it. You can fix problems within a building over time, and that is definitely demonstrating a good faith effort. And having talked when the MSBA came, and we're here, they just wanted to make sure we're not, that's our don't forget you're not done clause. But they also understand as a town, we can't commit. The only way we commit is as a vote. But again, it doesn't have to be, I don't anticipate, I would say, good faith effort means you approve $5 million next phase per se. It means that you are committed to making improvements to the middle high school.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do that. I think that just the expectation is that there's no threat of defunding the Pembroke School if we don't put a vote forward to fund the middle high school within the next year. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Well, I think it comes down to a timing issue. So my question, I have a question now, is that, will we put shovels in the ground? Will we start construction without having a definite approval for the high school improvements? Because that's, I think, where Gary's going, is that, are we gonna be able to be building be building Pembroke and trying to figure out what needs to be done at the high school? Are they gonna allow that, or no?
Well, that's
That's
a
not
que-
what I heard.
That's like I said, that's a question that hasn't been answered, and in essence, it hasn't been asked, because a lot of the preliminary questions to that, they've indicated they're gonna take them under advisement. It's a fairly involved situation. They've never done these combination projects. So we can certainly go out and ask that question. And it's a simple question to ask, is if we run into any issues and we have to defer that, and quite frankly, put it in a positive approach, that we probably wouldn't want to bid this until the fall of 15, because you don't want to bid it too far in advance.
Right.
Are we going to be able to move forward? And again, like I said, we can certainly run that by them.
Okay, well, that's the
We can get
question.
the
I think
design
that's what
done,
we're
and we can
leading
run that by them and find out if we can bid it in the fall. If you bid it in the fall of 15, you're clearly going to be virtually done with the Pembroke before you get there. So I think, again, at any stage, you can be showing that good faith, that you're showing good construction, a
Well, I
good
mean,
construction approach.
I think the risk is, we could have a foundation in the ground, and for some reason, our high school improvements, whatever that comes out to be, doesn't pass, and they pull funding, and we got a hole in the ground. That's the question.
I would say that,
And I think that's where I'm thinking about
I
that.
would
And that's
say-
not where I left off when I left that
I would say with
downtown
with
Boston.
probably 99 and 9/10% assurance, if they let you get started on construction, I would say that no one's ever gonna pull the funding. As long as they give you the green light, and again, and they know that you've attempted to make, they fund it and so forth, and you move that down the line, and we're gonna do it as soon as we have the dollars.
Okay,
I would say that if they allow us to go into construction,
right.
the probability is no one is gonna come back and say, leave the foundation in the ground and
Because I'm going back to
don't move forward,
my
you know?
original point. We can build a Pembroke school and hold off on the high school improvements. Physically, it can work. I mean, we can pull that grade out and put them there. We don't necessarily have to go right away at the same, simultaneously do the high school improvements.
Well, again,
Right?
like I
I
said,
mean,
they,
well,
they,
that's a
again,
yes or no
they-
question.
They want to, they
No,
would.
wait a minute, Pat.
Yes.
You know what, I want to put them aside for a minute.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, the way we have that Pembroke school designed,
Yeah.
is we can pull that grade out of the high school and put them at the Pembroke school,
Yeah.
and everything's gonna be great, and then we can deal with the high school. It's not gonna be an unoperable situation.
No, you're gonna be able to move the sixth grade there, that'll be,
But
Pembroke
that's
will be
my
terrific.
point. Okay. I
Absolutely,
just
no
want to get
question
that
about
point
it.
through. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, no question
Sorry, I
about
don't
it.
mean to beat you up.
They just won't be thrilled about the conditions at
Right,
the middle high
understand.
school.
Right, understand it,
Yeah,
but we can
yeah.
still pull out that grade.
Oh, that'll be fine, that'll be an
that's-
ideal situation to have the sixth grade at the Pembroke, no
I
question
mean,
about
we
it.
could potentially
It's
could hold off
decompressing.
on the high school if we're showing good faith, and we get it on the warrant and it fails 2 years in a row. I mean, we could be in 2017 and do the high school improvements, but we can still operate properly at Pembroke.
Pembroke would be no problem whatsoever.
Well, that's my point.
Absolutely.
Okay, Gary.
Just if I could say, I maybe go into the feasibility study. Maybe we need to think outside the box a little bit of a typical feasibility study also. And perhaps part of what we come up with is we're going to make the improvements to the roof this year. And perhaps we can find the funding out of some capital improvement money or something to do it. And then we could do some of the classrooms inside. It may not have to be this big bid project either, like we're thinking, although if we can get matching 50%, that's going to be nice. But
Well, there
it
could
may
be a
not be
timetable
the
in
same
that,
type
right?
of
I mean,
project that we're doing.
You can,
Do they-
you can move forward, I mean, again, in the interim period, you can move forward, I mean, they'd be thrilled to see you move forward with some of the work on your own, because they won't be paying 50% of it. So, I mean, you could move ahead with some of the items, but again, some of the items you could do some of the envelope work, things of that nature.
Well,
But as far as the interior work, some of it has to do with actually reconfiguring some doors and so forth, because you're gonna be decompressing the school by moving students to the Pembroke.
Well, if the
So,
feasibility
what I'm
study,
saying-
yeah, Gary, go ahead.
More what I'm saying
I know where he's going
is
with it, yeah.
think outside the, you're saying this is rather new, they've never done this before.
right.
So maybe if we said, listen, we've got 600,000, we got a bid of $1.2 million to fix the roof, and we got 600,000 out of the general budget. Could they match that? Which maybe they could do. It may not
As-
have to
as
go
you-
out for
as you
bid.
move
I mean,
forward-
it's looking at it out of the box in a different way as well.
Yeah, you're saying
Yeah.
in pieces.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think
As you-
once we get that feasibility study back and we know what needs to
right.
be
We may
done,
not-
we can maybe come up and work with them on a schedule on when these things are gonna be done. They don't necessarily, on a rental, do they all have to be done at once?
No.
Could we do a 2-year, 3-year plan?
You
And I
can-
think that's
you-
where Gary's going
again,
with it. If
I go back to that good faith approach. If you're
Yeah.
moving with improvements and you're moving along a specific game plan,
Right,
to me, that's showing good faith.
right. So if there's 10
You're
things on
moving
that
ahead.
feasibility study list, and we wanted to tackle 2 in the first year, we could go to them and say, look, you know, you're partnering with us, we wanna do these 2 this year. This is the plan. These 2 this year, we'll hold the roof till the last year, you know, whatever comes out of that, we have to know what needs to be done first in the feasibility study.
Exactly.
That's, and then I like Gary's idea, if we have to stagger it and layer it out, we can work with them, that's good,
And,
you know,
and
that's a
as you
good
go
feedback.
through the process, they're gonna be working with us on what they're gonna be reimbursing anyway at the
Right.
school.
Understandable. And if there's some things in there they're not gonna reimburse that are in the feasibility study that we wanna do on our own,
Right.
and then that shows good faith too.
And I think what they've done is they, again, afforded some relief. They know that the FEMA mitigation money was initially denied.
Right, we're going back.
They know
to
we're
that.
going back in December. But one thing they did not do, they have no language in here about that mitigation money. Initially, they were putting language in for the mitigation money. Again, they know we're going back, so they're giving us some flexibility to go out and get those dollars and put those dollars together, and they haven't tied it back in. Originally, there were 2 components that affected it. Now we're down to middle high school, and they know that the town is gonna be moving with that. And again, I don't wanna overplay the term, but it's in a good faith basis. They know you wanna take care of it, and they understand the complexities of municipal finance, and they understand what you can afford and how difficult it is in these times. So I think that they've made and I think you've come to some of those meetings, in the formal and informal discussions, you know, they're gonna do everything within reason to obviously to participate and get the town of Georgetown in good shape, so that you won't have to do this again for another
They really
great
want
number of
this-
years.
They really want this project to happen.
They do,
There's no
absolutely,
doubt
yeah.
about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they do.
So,
You all set? Wait, let me just make
I'm
sure.
sorry.
Gary, you all set? Okay, Phil?
no, I was gonna say, so as I read the contract, in some ways, it's a little bit unnerving. At the same time, it doesn't bound us to any specific dates on that good faith, and, which is possibly a good thing. So so when I interpret that, I interpreted that, and I hope I think as we've clarified this, is that the $85,000 feasibility study will satisfy this requirement on the contract. And as we go through the feasibility study and we work with the state to identify potential flexible investment arrangement together, I think that will continue to show good faith, and we should be in compliance with what the contract says.
Yeah, I would,
That
that's the
sums
way
it
I
up.
would read it.
That sums it up, I
Yeah.
think, after all of this discussion. All right, we're gonna move the question.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
just have
sir.
one quick question. Pat, are we gonna have to rebid the feasibility study for the middle high school?
We asked them that question regarding consultants and architects. We asked them that question, and again, they took it under advisement, they would let us know. My inclination, again, is that it would actually just add more time onto the whole process and actually
course it
cost
would,
more
yeah.
money for everybody, because everybody would have to get reacquainted. Remember, we've already got a jump start. We already did some work on that, which resulted in
Right.
the study that was done to convince them we didn't need to bring another grade over. My sense, if I had, again, because there's nothing hardcore on it, I think there's overwhelming feeling in my part that they will allow us and the RA to continue, because it makes all the sense in the world.
But is it their decision, or is it the IG's, the Inspector
No,
General's
it would be
decision?
I think it'd be their decision, because again, this is an adjunct to the Pembroke school. This is not something that came in as you've got a deficient school, why don't we do that school while we're at it at the same time? This is tied directly to this project. These two are one. So it's like when we went to do the original study that we did up there, we checked that all out with bond counsel and your counsel and their counsel, everybody agreed. This is all being stimulated by the fact that these are joined at the hip, which is why it cleared everybody's
As long as they
legal
stay
opinion.
joined at the hip.
And, I mean, they're about as joined at the hip as you can get as far as MSBA is concerned, notwithstanding the fact that they, again, will allow you to proceed in good faith.
All right, so let's move the question. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, so that gives me authorization to sign the contract, which I will do after the meeting. Okay,
Okay.
I think, Pat, we beat you up enough.
No, that's fine,
You're gonna-
anytime.
You're gonna come by Saturday for our meeting too?
Well, I'm going tonight. Saturday might be a problem. I told Ellie and Michelle that, but
Okay.
I'm gonna see what I can do with that.
What
But-
about the architects? They're gonna be there?
Oh,
too?
yeah, they'll be there, yeah.
Be there, okay.
If Kyle can make it, he'll certainly have
Kyle.
someone there to do a little PowerPoint, yeah.
Yeah, all right, great.
Okay,
All right, thank you, sir.
all right.
Thank you.
Have a good
Pat,
evening.
thanks for your time.
No problem, anytime.
We're gonna get the same questions, and I'd rather beat you up than have myself.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
Thanks,
All right.
Pat, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so, chief, come on up. Lieutenant, come on up.
Have a good night, Pat.
Take care.
Bye, Pat.
Take your time.
No problem. You guys with them? Want, Mr. French?
Grab a chair and bring it
Come
up.
on up. Pull it up a little bit.
Over the next few weeks, you're gonna see a lot of us, because we've been on a recruiting campaign, and we've recruited a number of reserve officers, and we'll be bringing them into the board for appointments. This is the first one.
Thanks for the warning.
Don't tase me, bro.
Tonight, we're very pleased to introduce you to Mr. Jeffrey French, to the position of Reserve Police Officer. He is a resident of Ipswich, Mass., and has been employed as a lieutenant with the Ipswich Fire Department since 1987. He is an experienced police officer, having worked as a reserve officer with the Ipswich and Raleigh Police Department for well over 20 years. Because of his experience, we'll be able to conduct a short orientation and have him assigned to field work in a very short time. In order to qualify for this position, he had to take a physical agility test, which is a significant test. It's not just something to make sure you can walk. He had to pass that exam, and he also had to pass an extensive background check. All these things he passed with flying colors, and I'm recommending him to the board tonight with a lot of confidence. You know, we're very lucky that he wants to come here to Georgetown and work with us because of his experience, and because we need that kind of experience. We have to build up our ranks, so they've kind of depleted in the reserve force. So, I don't know if, Jeff, you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I've worked closely with Georgetown. I was over in Raleigh. I know a lot of the guys, and I'm excited about coming over because I know it's a well-run department.
Great.
Great.
How many positions we have open, chief?
I think we have 10 reserve positions and 3 dispatch positions. You won't see the dispatches, but the 10 reserve positions.
Okay. So we're gonna see at least 9 more times, chief?
Yes. Well, not actually
Before
9.
June?
We'll be bringing in 3 of the next meeting. That's coming up next.
Do them in bulk, chief, do them in bulk. All right, any questions from the Board of Selectmen? Okay.
I just want to, assuming we're having a vote in the affirmative tonight, welcome to Georgetown, and we really appreciate you coming to help and keep our community safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll enjoy working with our board.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Jeffrey French to the position of Reserve Police Officer with a term to expire, Janet, help me,
June 30th.
June 30th.
June 30th,
2013.
2013.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, good luck and.
Good luck.
Thank
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, chief, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. French, Stu Eggenberg, pleasure. Welcome.
Welcome, good luck.
Good luck, definitely.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to Georgetown.
We'll be in touch with you, Jeff.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
All right, chief, we have some other police business to
Yes,
handle.
and I don't want to see any tears, as I know. No, you know, as of,
These meetings will never be the same, chief. After
You've been celebrating, actually, but that's a different story.
I kind of anticipated it.
Too bad your brother's a twin, too. We shouldn't even bring him, but, we can bring him over.
No one ever liked him as much as me,
That's great.
especially my mother.
Especially, you look younger than him, too, by about 2 hours. Anyway, boom.
Okay.
All right, chief, go.
Okay, as you know, I've set a retirement date for June 30th from the Georgetown Police Department. As a result, there will be a full-time vacancy in the department with the current succession plan in place. To better plan for the coming year, I've requested we begin the training process for a prospective officer by securing seats in the upcoming academy in December. Recently, the department was shorthanded since September of last year due to an early health-related incident. The challenges to replace that officer due to limited Mass Police Training Council Academy schedules resulted in being understaffed since that time, and to date, we still have a vacancy under the officer's until the officer graduates in November of this year. Additionally, training an officer prior to the vacancy exists also saves substantial funding, as we do not have to provide backfill assignments for the officer's replacement. While in the academy for 6 months training period, in short, we can pay 90% now, or we can pay 150% later. Lieutenant Cudmore has reworked the numbers because I was actually going to come to you earlier, but the amount of money that we're asking for a transfer is $22,016. This funding request for this temporary initiative will by way of a reserve fund transfer. This will not change the size of the department, as it will remain 11 full-time officers the upcoming season. And basically what I'm saying is, look, I'm telling you I'm leaving. I believe that we're going to probably have an internal promotion. If that happens, we can get this officer up and running. This officer will graduate from the academy in or about July. The scheduled next academy is March of 13. So that would mean by the time I move on, that officer would be up and running. And it makes sense that you don't want to go another 6 months, because when that officer's gone, you're paying backfill, either you're paying reserve officers or overtime rate, and it's just a hole in the boat, you know? And I think it's good business. We've discussed this with Mike, and we think it's good business, and that's all. It really is a savings to the community. It's gonna happen. I think, I have no crystal ball, but I think we've worked together as a group together. You guys have given me my marching orders a few years ago, and I followed up on those marching orders, and I think that's the way we've been going. So when I leave here, I'd like to see the department in full, up and running, so we can move forward the way we've been doing, and for the safety, security, protection, and for the budget of the town, because to spend that 150 to backfill and all these other things for 6 months with the officer cannot work under the rules of Massachusetts. So that's our proposal.
I think, Mr. Chairman, what I can add with regard to the academy is that with the changes in the training requirements in the Commonwealth, as well as the staggered academy dates, this next academy on March 11th is the only one that's currently planned. Therefore, we need to prepare the officer who was chosen. He needs time, because he may or may not, or she may or may not have a full-time job, where they need to separate from another agency, as well as prepare medically. There's a full comprehensive medical. There's a physical agility test for the state, which is only offered twice a month. So the time period to get someone into that academy for March, we need at least 120 days to prepare for that date, with the hopes we get that seat, because a lot of other communities are just like us. We're waiting for these academies to open. So that's another reason why we move forward. I had submitted a memo earlier to Mr. Farrell's office about the salary. Why it went down $5,000 is approximately 6 weeks have passed since that last memo was submitted. So I deducted that money. It was originally 27 and change. Now it's 22 and change. And that's the reason for the change.
Yeah. And you have to understand that the Mass Training Council is virtually shut down for a period while they do reorganization. They're trying to do the right thing, but it means that there's no municipal training, and that these academies are few and far between. If we don't get in early, we don't get in.
You make a commitment to get in there early. Okay. Any questions for Police Department? Mr. Fowler?
Just, you mentioned, do you have a backup plan in case you don't make this academy? I know before, didn't you have another place that we recently sent an officer?
We have an office in the Lowell Academy,
Okay.
and my hope, it's probably one of the best academies in the state. And my hope was to get the next office in that academy, but they only run one academy a year, and we got into that academy. And
So this way you won't have to wait.
we won't.
Right.
We'll have that. We get that seat. We can get the officer in there, not in early on. So they really can't work. So they're in that. They become student police officers. That's their title.
What happened with our previous hire is he was put on in April in an attempt to fill the vacancy since September. The academy was pushed until June, so we had to file for an exemption. So he worked under that exempt status, but then we now pay for him, one officer to be in the academy, one officer to fill the midnight shift. So we're paying two people to do the job of one.
Right.
And with this, we're trying to eliminate that, so that in July, if the plan goes according to what we've set forth, that now we're not double paying somebody.
Mr. Chairman, as the chief and the lieutenant stated, I support this fully. It's the opportunity to be proactive versus reactive, and the 22,000 spent now is going to save us a lot more money later.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Just a quick question. In general, when we pay to train someone, is there a time commitment on their part in terms of staying with Georgetown, or how does that work?
We expect that they'll stay the full 20 years. You know, we have never lost an officer, unfortunately, you know, through illness and things like that. But once a police officer goes through the academy, I should step back. The police officers, we have 2 fellows who've taken, who've gone through the physical fitness exam. We've created a list of officers who are eligible to become full-time officers. They've done all the technical stuff. But these are people we know. These are people that we've worked with. They're not strangers to us. So when they get full-time positions, usually you're buying that person for 20 years or more. All right. So the people we have in line, I'm very confident they come aboard. They're going to be with us a long time, and they won't leave Georgetown.
Great.
It's actually 32 years.
32 years. Yeah. Yeah. But you know, and I'll say this.
If it was 20, I'd already be gone.
That's a lifer, you know?
We hear our
32.
officers. I hear from other departments all the time about how our officers enjoy working with our community. And I'll say this is a great place to work. It's a great community, and we have great citizens. And our officers recognize that, which is really significant. That's the most significant part, I think, that I've found here since I've worked here. How our officers appreciate the citizenry here and the support we get.
Right.
Excellent.
Okay, Mike, just a point of protocol. We can go ahead and approve this, however, FinCom needs to make the money transfer, yes?
That's correct. FinCom has the deciding vote on this. It's good to have they will always ask, you know, what's the position on the,
So we can make a.
but by bylaw, the FinCom has the final say.
It was our next step to get on their agenda once we
Yeah.
brought it to your,
So we can make a
your
vote to
attention.
recommend.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'd entertain a motion to recommend that the reserve fund transfer be made for $22,016 to secure a police officer in the MPTC Academy.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion?
Just a reserve fund, what's available in there right now, and what would that leave us as a balance?
We started the year with 95, we've spent 22, so there's 70, over 70,000.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous, chief.
Thank you.
Thank
as
you,
always.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thanks,
Have a great
guys.
night.
And you will miss me.
Okey doke. We have minutes to take a look at from October 1st. Everybody get a chance to take a look at those minutes? I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes for October 1st, 2012.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
One abstention. We also, do we owe Janet some minutes on executive session? Were those, we had a couple of executive sessions there. Did we submit those to her?
I think I've got one I do over, yeah. I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
if
I
you
did
were
do
the,
one.
yeah, if you were the record taker, I think, Steve, were you one at one? No? All right.
I did one.
I think I owe from the
All
last
right, so
one.
let's go back and take a look at that, make sure we get those to Janet, okay?
Okay.
All right. Correspondence, we have a request from the Historical Society to conduct tours of the Union Cemetery in October, and those dates are October 13th and 14th, right, do I have that right? And October 27th and 28th, all tours begin at 2 o'clock and last about an hour. Okay, so,
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request from the Historical Society to conduct tours of the Union Cemetery on the dates of October 13th and 14th and the 27th and 28th from 2 p.m. to approximately 3 p.m.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing
Just to clarify, we're
One.
kind of post-approving one and pre-approving the other, right? Because the dates have passed.
Correct.
No problem. I'm just wondering.
This is a sharp board. I don't know if I can get that past you guys. Anyway.
Mike gave us a heads up.
Yeah.
If I may have another question. Just-
Sure.
It said two, it looks like we were within our outside hours, but where we did have a frost the other day, do you know where we are?
Well, there's some issues, I don't know if we're at liberty to say yet, but the
Well-
official announcement will be coming, I'm sure, right,
It
Mike?
came out already.
Did it come out already? I haven't seen it yet.
Through the school announcement that it requires, I believe, 28 degrees for 2 hours, and to have a hard frost, an official frost, and we did not achieve that.
Oh, okay.
Is what I believe the announcement said on the phone, that Superintendent Jacobs had put out there. So right now, we are still in,
That's conflicting information
one.
from what we
I'll
have,
have to
so
make-
let's leave it at that.
We will have some new information tomorrow.
okay.
Oh, okay.
There's been an update, the Board of Health will probably be making an announcement in the morning.
Okay, great. I think, but what, I believe an announcement did go out already?
Yes.
So
the-
just so I didn't imagine that, so,
it-
okay.
No, it did.
Okay.
As
should be in
from,
the-
from this morning till this afternoon, things changed.
Got you.
Great.
Okay, so it's not our purview,
So
so
it won't-
therell be.
it shouldn't
these
be
tours
This is
will be
within
done
the
by-
hours
These
anyways,
tours will be
I
done by
think.
3 o'clock, Mr. Fowler. Okay, so we got a motion in a second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, we have a request from the Zoning Board of Appeals to waive the fee for the Parks and Rec project on East Main Street. I think it's the skateboard park, yes?
That's correct.
Yeah, by Thanksgiving, I heard, remember that? Anyway, I'm fully in favor of this. Do we know how much it was? Was there a number attached to this, Mike?
There was not a number on
No,
this.
there wasn't.
Yeah. All right, well, this is obviously our project that we want to get done, so I would entertain a motion to approve this waiver of this permit fee.
I move to waive the fee for the Park and Recreation project on East Main Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
The
Mr.
way I'm
Fowler?
reading it, they're looking for clarification, so we've got clarification, it is our job to waive the fees.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any old business as far as a special town meeting? That's gonna be October 29th, so, some important things on the warrant. We've already closed it, so I won't really discuss it. However, we really do need as many people at town meeting as we possibly can have, and, got a lot of important information to go over and, subsequently hopefully approve, based on, the town meeting vote. So, October 29th, keep that, and, make sure that you're available that day to come on down to town meeting. I would get there early, because I
Is
would
that at
bet there's gonna
7?
be a long line to get in.
That's at 7, correct?
That's at 7 PM
7
begins.
PM, middle
Okay.
high school.
I try to get there early. I know that in the past, we've had lines out the door, so with some, a lot of information and a lot of, issues on the warrant, I would ask people to get there as early as you possibly can.
There will be babysitting.
There will be babysitting, okay? Selectmen's report, basically to let people know that this Saturday at, I want to say 10 a.m., Mike? Are we on?
Correct.
10 a.m. The Board of Selectmen has invited all boards in town to, and citizens to come and speak to the Pembroke School. What we'll be going over is the financing option, we'll be going over the budget. We'll also have the architects there to give a little bit of a overview of the design, so that people have questions. We can certainly do our very best to answer those questions so that people are informed and can make an informed decision about which way they're going to vote, both at town meeting and on the ballot. So I would ask as many people to come. If you're available and interested in the school project, please come down. Whether you're for or against, please come on down and we can answer any questions to the best of our ability. So that is on this Saturday, and that is at the middle high school cafeteria, where we have some coffee and donuts, I think, Carol. Auditorium, excuse me. I got the donuts stuck in my mind.
Those may be in the cafeteria.
It may be in the cafeteria if it's very small, but we're at the middle high school. Okay, Mike has an update on the ESCO contract.
That's some very exciting news. As you know, at our last meeting, we had our financial advisor come in and explain to you the ins and outs of municipal bonding 101, and I think we got into 102 as well. We were in preparation at that time for a Moody's Investor Service call to, every time we have to go out to the market to bond, we have to get a new, have our rating reviewed, our bond rating. And This is the official in Moody's report. I'm happy to report that we retained our AA2 bond rating. This is a, shows you what the bond rating actually means. And as you can see on, for U.S. municipal long-term debt rating, this is the second highest rating available for a municipality. And for our size, it's really excellent, because I don't, to get a AAA rating at our size, we'd probably have to double our reserves and have a big increase in our overall valuation too. But the report points out the strengths and challenges, and what goes into making up the rating go up and rating go down. Basically, we have a satisfactory financial position. This will surprise somebody, but we have a favorable history of Proposition 2.5 overrides and debt exclusions, believe it or not. Since the inception of Prop 2.5, we've had 11 debt exclusions pass out of 16 attempts. The overrides are not as, we don't have a greater record. It's 4 out of 11, but because of the most recent override, that had a big to-do with Moody's saying you keep your excellent rating. That was good news heading into the bond sale that we also talked about last meeting. That occurred today. And I think you'll remember our financial advisor, Margaret McLean, estimating that, if we go for the taxable bond, we could expect around 4.5% interest rate. Well, the bids came in today, and the winning bid was 2.59%. Yes,
better.
it gets better.
Wait, it gets better.
But wait,
but
there's
there's
more.
You're gonna pay us.
You get the
to take
knives
the money.
too.
Well,
Order before midnight tonight.
Almost.
You get the knives. You get the set of knives
That's
too.
right.
Really, they're almost paying us to take the money.
It's almost free money.
It is.
It's-
because over the lifetime of the
It's almost like real
bond,
money. It's almost the same as cash.
this gives you a
I
comparison.
want to get a credit card with that interest rate. That would be nice.
If you look at the highlighted area, the interest that we will pay and then the subsidy that we will be given, the difference for the $2.2 million is $4,820
Over 16 years.
over 16 years.
That's the cost to borrow this money?
Yes.
4,820?
Over
Yeah.
16 years.
How do I
which
get
is-
on this program?
Yeah.
Well, you have to be a municipality
I'll start
and
my
you have
own.
to do
I know.
energy
Where's the-
savings.
Federal, where's
Philville.
where's federal town again? Whatever it was called.
So, Mike, I have a question about
That's amazing
when we
numbers.
when we originally put this whole program together. We had a baseline usage, and we had a baseline cost.
Yes.
And when we did all the projections and we signed the contracts, that was all based on a projection. And that was based on us also a projection of how much the cost of the money would be. So by us reducing our cost on the cost of the money, do we win that back from the agent that's guaranteeing the drop? I mean, do we get more credit towards usage by dropping our interest expense?
No, it doesn't change the savings aspect of it because that's independent of the cost.
Okay.
What it does do, though, we estimated everything at a net 2% interest,
Right.
and now we're at 0.22%. We could use some of that savings
To do more work.
to do more work.
Right.
And we talked about, doing an addendum to the contract or a phase two. and that's not out of the realm of possibility, because there were a lot of ECMs on, you know, we started at about $4 million, an estimate, and worked down to 2.2. So, but we've picked the biggest ECMs, energy conservation measures, at this point. So there will be a diminishing return on our investment going forward. But that's not to say, you know, it's not worth pursuing either, but we will pursue it. I'll take this back to the Energy Committee, and we haven't met in a long time, and I think now it's time to meet.
Right.
And-
So basically, from the beginning, we were on our own on the cost of the money.
Absolutely,
saying.
yeah.
So, okay,
And-
good.
And it was just totally serendipitous. You know, some of the delays that we experienced turned out to
The
be
rates helped? Yeah,
really
rates
good
dropped.
delays, because if we had enacted this right after town meeting, I mean, there was a 1-year delay, basically. But we would have not been able to apply for the QECB bonds. They came available last February is when we applied for them. And we didn't sign the contract until June. So it just dovetailed perfectly.
Timing.
Awesome.
We
Great
made the right
timing.
decision. We saved a tremendous
Usually it
amount of
works the
money.
other way around. You delay and you get screwed.
We saved
so-
a tremendous amount of money on
Very
interest
true.
expense.
Hats off to the member of the Energy Committee, did a lot of work on this, which Mike is a member of, but maybe there's something we can do with the middle high school. They can work into this, I don't know.
Part of the good faith
Let's keep
effort.
working.
Well,
Part of the
listen,
good faith effort.
you know, in
Where's
this
that
case,
magic stone?
well, in this case, I mean, the differentials, well, I mean, in terms of over services, it's a tremendous amount of money. It's probably close to $500,000, right, Mike?
$563,000.
Yeah, so that one decision we made, and I'm not patting ourselves on the back, but the decision to go with the way we did saved us, you know, we could have taken what was behind door number one that night, but we decided to take a little bit of a gamble, and it worked out to, you know, close to $500,000 over 15, 16 years in savings. So that's great. It was the right decision. Good. All right, great. Anything else on the ESCO? Where are we in terms of all the improvements? Is this,
The
are we still
school-
running manually here on the heat? Because it's hot,
We haven't turned the
Hot in
heat,
here tonight.
believe it or not, we haven't turned the heat on yet.
You must have shut off the AC then.
Separate heat
I'm
and air
dying.
conditioner for up here.
Well,
Mosquito bite.
I talked with the project manager today, and they're gonna swap out the boilers, hopefully starting Wednesday here. And with the place being closed on Fridays, and they're pretty sure they'll have us heated by Monday.
Okay, good. And all the other improvements are,
They're moving right along. They started work on redoing all the windows in the town hall. They worked on Friday. Didn't get as far as they thought they would. They'll be coming back actually tomorrow and Wednesday. They're weatherizing all the windows in the town hall. And when that's done, then we'll be able to finally move on to the exterior glazing of the windows and painting of the building, but I don't know that we can get that done this fall. And
well, if we keep having the weather we had today, we certainly can get it done.
yeah, it's always very iffy, but then going out to bid and having them hold the bid till next summer when you can paint again, we may have missed that window of opportunity for fall painting.
Okay. All right, anything else on the ESCO, Mike? Anything else?
Oh, well, yeah. The board will now need to take, to solidify the bond bid, and so we can get our money, the board is gonna have to take a series of votes tonight. And then the clerk will be asked to certify the vote. And we'll have to take these one at a time. In the handout you have, you got it at your place. This just came in this afternoon. You're gonna have to vote that, where it says voted, and make a motion for the sale of 2,199,000 in general obligation qualified energy conservation bonds is approved. And then there are further votes. Each one of these needs to be a separate vote.
So each one of these, it's further voted?
Yes.
So we'll start cranking.
All right, let's start cranking.
I move for the sale of the 2,199,000 general obligation qualified energy conservation bonds, federally taxable direct payment of the town, dated October 15th, 2012, the bonds, to Raymond James and Associates Incorporated at the price of $2,199,041.00.
Second.
Did I do that right, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries.
I further move that the bonds shall be issued as a direct pay qualified energy conservation bonds under section 54D of the code. The town hereby irrevocably, I didn't know that word was in here, elects to have 6431F of the code apply to the bonds.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Whoop.
Yeah, where is he?
Back up.
He missed one,
He
missed
but
one.
You
go
got- You
ahead.
can go back to that one.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
vote on this one,
Oh,
just
I
go back
missed
and
that one,
vote on
too.
the other one.
Okay.
Okay.
They don't have to be in that order. That
No.
was-
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Go back
Back
up
up
to
line, yep.
bonds
Further
maturing.
move that the bonds maturing on December 15th, 2027 shall be subject to mandatory redemption or mature values as follows: 2025, $165,000, 2026, $170,000, and 2027, which is the final maturity of $175,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I further move that the bond shall be subject to optional redemption, mandatory redemption, extraordinary optional redemption, and extraordinary mandatory redemption as described in the official statement with respect to the bonds dated October 15th, 2012.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I further move that in connection with the marketing and sale of the bonds, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated October 4th, 2012, and the official statement, each in such form as may be approved by the town treasurer, be and hereby are ratified, confirmed, approved, and adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Just on the date, Mike, any reason why it's, if it did go out to yesterday?
The report, the preliminary official statement was prepared by our
Okay.
financial advisor in anticipation of the sale, so that's the correct date.
Yeah, that's gathering the information. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I further move that the town treasurer and the board of selectmen be and hereby are authorized to execute and deliver a continuing disclosure undertaking in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the bonds for the benefit of the holders of the bonds from time to time.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I further move that we authorize and direct the treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures in such form as the treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the bonds.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? None. All those in favor? Aye.
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 I further move that each member of the Board of Selectmen, the town clerk, and the town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any and all such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents as may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary or convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Mike, that's it, right?
Yep.
Got them all done, and then Stu has to sign. as
Clerk
the
has
clerk.
Something the
Sign that.
clerk actually signs.
Right, this is the first time,
action of the
yeah.
clerk.
And
second time, we had one other.
Yeah, I was saying, I think I did one earlier.
Okay.
I have one other announcement, David, regarding the certification of free cash. I came and told you last meeting that we had an estimated free cash, that that DOR was here that day and left with an estimate. We've had it actually certified, and the certification is a little higher than the estimate. So the free cash, instead of the 1.1 million that we had estimated, is 1.295784, or an increase of 195,784. So we have more free cash than we thought we did.
Better than the other way.
Well, hopefully we'll have another mild winter and we'll be able to carry the 250 if everything passes at town meeting, plus this additional 195, so, good.
Yep.
That's good, that's good news, very good news. All right, anything else under town administrator's report?
I'm
Mike?
gonna quit while I'm ahead.
Good night.
Quit while you put money up. Okay, appointments and approvals, I have 2 appointments that I'd like to propose. The first one being, I'd like to propose that Tim Garrity be appointed to the Affordable Housing Task Force with a term to end. Janet, do you have the opening slots there on that? There's a couple.
Bring that with me.
You can bring it with you.
It's usually a 3-year, and I think
But there's some
They are.
unexpired, unfilled terms, right? There's some terms there that need to be
most of
filled.
them have expired already, so,
Have they? Okay.
yeah, so
All right, so with a,
I do a 3-year term on.
all right, with a term to expire June 30th, 2015. All right,
So moved.
okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. I also would like to propose Mr. Frank Popolo, Puopolo, to be appointed to the Affordable Housing Task Force with a term to expire June 30th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. And welcome, gentlemen, to the Affordable Housing Task Force, and we look forward to working with you on that. Any new business to be brought before the Board of Selectmen tonight? Okay, hearing none, our next meeting is, again, this Saturday, October 20th at 10 a.m. at the middle high school, to talk about the Pembroke School and the feasibility study for the middle high school. Our next meeting officially will be the 29th at 6 o'clock in the auditorium, first floor meeting room before town meeting. Again, reminder, everybody, town meeting October 29th. And we have the special town meeting, and then our next meeting after that would be Monday, November 5th. And I would like to add an executive session to that meeting at 6:15. Okay, Jen? Okay. No,
And election day.
oh, election day, excuse me, yep. The 7th,
November
right?
6th.
November 6th, excuse me.
Tuesday the 6th.
Tuesday the 6th, very important, presidential election and a lot of contested races, so, and we have our own initiatives that will hopefully be on the, that we'll be voting on, so. Okay, and not hearing any new business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody, and thank you.